How's it going, everybody? I wanted to touch on something today. I've gotten a few comments here and there talking about, how do you do it, Keith? You're stronger than me. I couldn't do that. I'm glad you did it, but I can't do that, man. I'm still stuck on kratom. But I'm gonna tell you, which I've touched on in my videos. I've touched on this subject a few times, but I've never dedicated one individual video to this, which is quitting kratom unsuccessfully. And I'll tell you what, man, back in, it was 2019, September 2019. So I had been on kratom about 2 years, like 2 straight years. And that might have been like some of my heaviest use was 2019. I was just going through a ton of it. And I used to buy this stuff it was kratom extract mixed in with the powder. So it was like extra strong. And every time I used, which was like 3 times a day, sometimes 4, I would get 2 huge teaspoons. And I'm talking like, kitchen teaspoons, whopping. Like it would be like this much kratom coming off the top of it, if not more, just as much as 1 huge teaspoon. No, not teaspoon, tablespoon, my bad. A huge tablespoon. And I would put 2 of those in there, which is, I don't know how much, but it's a ton of kratom. I'd put this much water at the bottom of a shaker bottle, and it would just be muddy, just thick. I'd be drinking mud. And I don't know how I did that. But September 2019, we were taking a trip. I know I talked about this before, but I'm gonna talk about all the times that I quit unsuccessfully. This is the first. I knew we were going to be jumping on a plane, and I didn't know if they were going to take my kratom at the airport. I didn't know if where we were going, if it was illegal or not. So I started doing a little bit of research, find out that probably not going to take it at the airport, and where we're going, it's legal. So I was like, okay. But the fact that I'm even searching this up on the internet is just like, you need to quit, bro. If you can't quit for a few weeks without going through withdrawals, and I was pretty sure I was going to go through withdrawals, but I didn't know how bad. I had an idea because I had felt them a little bit before, but I just took it and blocked it out. I'm like, yeah, whatever, I'll deal with it later. Yeah, deal with it later. You deal with it later. I promise you. And then, so I quit maybe 4 days. No, that can't be. Because the longest I went was 2 nights. So 3 days before, whatever, you do the math. So I quit one day, the first day, and I had I was going through withdrawals all day. The day was kind of rough because I think that's when I was using that like extract powder that was mixed in with the kratom. So the day was kind of rough. And then at night, I was just like tossing and turning. Of course, you can't get no sleep. And I didn't tell anybody. Didn't tell my wife. My wife had no clue. Nobody knew, just me. But yeah, the night was rough. Didn't get much sleep. Woke up and just went to work, in my head, I was like, this is just what I got to do, Went to work, got through the day. I was having like super anxious and restless legs, restless back. And then second night, again, it was the same thing. And the second day wasn't much better either. And I just thought in my head, I'm like, man, like the second night was no better and the second day was no better. You thought maybe it would get a little better. Didn't get better. And I still had some kratom. I think that's where I messed up. I still kept some, like, just in case I can't take it, I got the kratom and I can go use it. So the night before because we left at like 4 a.m. or something like that to go catch a flight. And that night, I think I woke up I used that night, late that night. Because I was like, nah, this is too much, man. I can't take this. Took some. And then the next morning, used some more, put it in my luggage. We got to our destination, and then I just happened to go inside find a kratom shop that was close to us, and I got some really, really strong stuff. And I was like, cool. We were there for, I don't know, maybe 8 days, where we were at. And I think I bought like 2 or 3 bags. I brought one back with me. And yeah, used nonstop until about, I think it was January 2021, where, was it January 2021? Or maybe it was January 2022. I think it was January 2022. I forget. But here and there, in between 2019 and 2022, I had like tried to stop cold turkey a couple times. Like, oh, I'm almost out of kratom. I'm not gonna buy anymore. I'll go through the withdrawals. It's not gonna be that bad. But I never threw all my kratom away, ever. I always kept some just in case. Biggest mistake. If you're gonna quit, toss it. I don't care if you got a bunch of kilos sitting in your closet, throw them out. Get rid of them. Charge it to the game. Lost. It's good. It's better in the long run. I don't care if you lose money or not. If you sell them, cool, whatever. But get rid of them. Get them out the house. That's where I went wrong. Because every time it would start to be too much, I'd wake up at 3 in the morning, 4 in the morning, and I'm going through withdrawals, because I took a dose at, let's say, 6 p.m. And then I go to sleep. And by the time I went to sleep, I was no longer like feeling the effects, but it was still in my body. So, 2:30, 3 in the morning, yeah, I wake up going through withdrawals. So I would toss and turn for a couple hours. The longest I'd probably go through is a couple hours. Then I get up, use again. And I did that a couple of times, 2 or 3 times at least. I did that. So there's already 4 failed attempts. So in 2022, it was January, and I told myself, you know what? Cold turkey is rough. Let's try tapering. So I was using, and I didn't measure grams, to be honest with you. I've never really measured grams, but all I know is at the time I was using these little measuring caps. It was like a little spoon, but it was a plastic spoon. And with straight walls. It wasn't like a regular spoon. It was just straight walls. Like that you get creatine or something like that in, one of those little spoons. So I'd measure my kratom and I would dump like, I think 4 of those, like whopping. There was like, from the top of it, there's probably this much kratom hanging off the top, just whopping, like a big whopping spoon. Whopping, I keep saying whopping. But a bunch of that. So in my head, I was like, okay, if I do 3 whopping spoonfuls and then one of them, I straighten it off and dump that, I'll do that for, let's say, a week. And the next week I'll get rid of another whopping spoonful, and I'll do that every time I use. And I was using 3 to 4 times a day, mind you. So I got down to, and I'd go through little withdrawals here and there, just a tiny bit though. So I got down to 3 of those little spoonfuls, and I would, take the tops off. They wouldn't be whopping. I would just rub my finger across the top, and I put that in my drink. And I only did that 3 times, and I did that 3 times a day. And pretty quickly I noticed my libido was starting to come back. I had more energy, especially in the morning. I'd wake up like, man, I feel refreshed. My dreams are getting better. I started dreaming again. For a while on kratom, I didn't dream at all. I don't know what that's about, but I didn't have dreams for a few years. And I got down to about, maybe a little bit less. I think at the end of that taper, before I started using heavy again, I was using like only 2, I think it was 3 in the morning, or 2 in the morning, 2 in the afternoon, and then 3 of them before bed. Which that might sound like a lot to the average person, but to me, it was like a third of what I had been using. So I was like, I'm doing good. I'm doing good. But I couldn't go lower than that. Anytime I tried to go a little bit lower than that, I would wake up in the morning going through withdrawals. And I started getting up earlier and earlier because the withdrawals would wake me up earlier. So I said in my head, I was like, I don't know what had happened. Maybe I had a stressful day, or who knows, who knows why we use. Usually it's just stuff we got to deal with. And that's exactly what it is. Stuff we got to deal with. I know it is. And I used a heavy, heavy dose. And I was like, dang, kratom hasn't hit me this hard in a while. Because that's part of it too. You want to get high, And I said, man, I haven't gotten this high off kratom in a long time. So I said, man, maybe if I just keep my dose low and every now and then I'll use a big dose just so I can really feel it. Yeah, right. Immediately went back to using real heavy every single day, 3-4 times a day. And then, as you guys know, that lasted for another year and 8 months till last August. And then, so that's 5 unsuccessful times that I quit. And it might be more, you know what I mean? It's like, I'm sure there were other times where I'm like, okay, I'm done. I would do spur of the moment things like, okay, I'm done. But again, I didn't have it together like the last time. I didn't tell everybody. Nobody knew what I was going through. You have to tell people before you quit. Everybody, tell everybody. That's 1. 2, get you a little plan. You know what I mean? Get you a plan of, okay, like what I did. I went to the little detox clinic, got some medication. And as you guys know, I didn't use that medication really at all past the first day, except for the sleeping pills, which I used very sparingly. And my bad. Somebody's calling me. Yeah, I used the sleeping pills very sparingly. And then after, the first week or 2, I tossed those because I knew my sleep has to get back to normal on its own. So told everybody, got me a little plan, got me some medication, you know what I mean? Even if I thought it was going to help me or it did help me, you know what I mean? Like, that's what I did. And I got through it. So, maybe the medication wasn't that bad, but I just didn't want to use it longer than I had to. It did its purpose in the beginning. Those are 2 big ones right there. Another one, look above, look to God. God will help you out a lot. I'm sure there's a lot of atheists on here. I was an atheist too for years. I grew up in the church. I was a Jehovah's Witness. And then I became an atheist for years, and then I found my faith again, and that might be the difference. But I found my faith before I quit, I was already heavy in my faith, and then that helped me quit. So I didn't quit, and then I found God, I found God. He welcomed me back into the fold, and then I quit, But yeah, you gotta get your plan going on. So anybody that thinks I'm stronger than them or I can't do it, I'm glad you did it, Keith, but I can't do it. Yes, you can. You just have to tell yourself for months. I mean, if you don't see yourself quitting anytime soon, today, tell yourself, the day I put this kratom down, I'm never going to pick it up again. I don't need this. Look at it in a disgusting way. You know what I mean? You already feel like, I'm done with this. I'm done with it. Keep telling yourself that. I'm done with this stuff. I'm done with this stuff. The day I put it down, that's it. I'm never going to go back. And if you keep telling yourself that over and over, whatever you want to be, to become, whatever you want to do, keep telling yourself that in your mind. This is what I'm going to do. This is what I'm going to do. Pray on it. Work towards it. Get a plan. A huge one is telling everybody around you. But, It sounds corny, but if I did it, you can do it, because I felt hopeless. You know what I mean? After the fifth time or sixth, whatever it was that I failed at quitting, I felt hopeless. You feel hopeless, like a darkness inside of you. And then after you try to quit, you take another heavy dose of kratom, and then maybe you took a little too much and you feel a little nauseous, and maybe you even throw up, and you're like real high, and like kind of, you just feel like going to sleep. It would do that to me. I'd be driving and I'd be like this, like struggling to stay awake, like damn near nodding off, because I would take so much. And I felt dirty. I was like, man, I feel disgusting. I'm letting myself down, and I'm letting the people around me down. You know what I mean? I'm letting us down. But it's funny, but initially when you quit, you have to be selfish. Initially. Like, you're doing it for other people for sure. That's another reason. But number one, you have to quit for yourself. No, nobody else. Quit for yourself. Once you quit and you realize, I quit for me, I got some issues I got to work on, and I have to deal with those issues. Once you do that, then you can begin to, be a bigger man, be a better person. You know what I mean? I know there's a lot of women watching this too. Then you can become a better person. But you could do it. I felt just the way you felt. If you feel stuck, I felt it. You can do it. All right. Just want to let y'all know that. Have a good one.